What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JD, and we back with another one. Continuing our crafter journey, we're gonna have the observer crafter because we all need observers. But that's not all, there's more because this is a semi-universal 2 and 3 ingredient recipe maker or crafter. And how it works is we would have a full pre-filled recipe with full stacks in here, and then the ingredients 1, 2, or 3 in these droppers here. Um, the device or the contraption, I should say, will never break its recipe. It will stop crafting if it runs out of ingredients, and it will start crafting as long as the lockout is disabled when it receives ingredients. It is faster than other 2 and 3 ingredient recipe makers, but its times vary, so it's anywhere from 32 game ticks to 64 game ticks. It depends on the recipe that you have configured. You can configure the clock here in the back via these 2 crafters, so it's really easy to adjust. Uh, this uses one of my crafter clocks. You guys are probably familiar if you've built some of my other builds. That's really all to note. Let's get the dimensions here. It's 5 by 11 by 11. So go ahead and clear that space out in your world. The floor, this part right here, is 7 blocks from the bottom of the build. So if you're coming up from this bottom part right here, there'll be 7 blocks between the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it's actually 6 blocks and then your floor, but the 7th block is the block that you will be standing on. So if you want to get that floor and that space cleared out in your world, you can go ahead and do that. There's not much else to explain. Using this thing is really simple. We'll get into more of that once I do the build. Here's my other practice build. And then I got the area set up for the tutorial. So if you've dug everything out, you can go ahead and also gather the materials that you see in my inventory. These are not exact amounts, but you do need a handful of each of these. You'll need at least 2 stacks of regular blocks. I don't think we need glass. That's just for the floor. Um, and you don't need any observers for this. This makes observers. It doesn't use them. All right, and once you have everything gathered up, I'm gonna go ahead and get my inventory set up. So this is what you're gonna need for the beginning part of this. Yeah, you're gonna need those, and you're gonna need that, and we're gonna need our lever. Okay, so build this little platform and figure out which way you want your device to face. I'm having the front of the machine facing me, so if you were doing this another way, you just orientate yourself whatever which way that you wanted. All right, so once you have this platform built, just go ahead and place a comparator, a repeater, and dust. Put this comparator on subtract mode, it's very important. Come off the front of that comparator and just build out 3 little blocks, just like this. Break out these temporary blocks. You can leave those blocks if you want. Place a repeater on 2 ticks and a piece of dust on top of this. Okay. And then a torch here. Come over here on this side. Place some blocks just like this. This is a temporary block, and we're going to place another torch right there. You should have something looking like this. Okay. Let's continue on. So we're going to place a solid block on top of this, solid block on top of this. And then we're just going to go ahead and take a strip of blocks all the way out here, just like so. And fill in these 2 blocks. Put a block right there. So you should have something that's looking like this. This comparator. And have that comparator read from a crafter. Set that crafter to 5 if you're just doing observers. Alright. I might make this a different one. Put a solid block here, come up and put a comparator, flip around to the other direction and have a comparator facing the other way into a solid block. We can now break this temporary block. Alright. all looking good. Go ahead and place dust on all of this. And make sure that this back comparator here is on subtract mode. We can go ahead and place a piece of dust right there as well. And you'll see everything turn off. Now get your torches and come over here, this little part where we have it jutting out above this dust. Place a torch right there. And you'll see that the clock starts looping. We want to stop that, so we're going to place a lever right there and power that completely so it doesn't do anything while we're building. That's just a temporary lever. Now, coming back, we're going to start with this torch here. We're going to place a solid block, and then a solid block, a comparator, and that comparator is going to be reading from a crafter. This crafter is going to be set on 6. That's how many pulses we need for the cobblestone. So the greatest number of items in the recipe, which for observers would be cobblestone, there's 6 pieces of cobblestone, is how you set this clock. You would set the top one to the greatest number of items, so it's cobblestone, so we set it to 6. And then you would set the bottom one, or the middle one here, to 1 less than the number of pulses. So this is set to 5, and that is set to 6. And that's how you configure the clock here. Alright, so what we need to do is put this comparator we just placed on subtract mode, place a piece of dust there to lock it. And then we're going to come out and build the final portion here. Alright. Is this correct? Yeah, this is correct. Okay. Sorry, I had to go in my memory banks to remember this. Alright, so coming from the front of this comparator, we're going to place another comparator. We're going to flip around and place a comparator just like that. On this front comparator, have it going into a solid block. Break this temporary block and that temporary block. And we're going to go ahead and place dust on all this stuff. Now, coming over to the side where we have this comparator locked, this is going to be very important, 2 very important torches. We're going to place a torch on the side of this block, and we're going to place a torch on the side of this block. Now for this next portion, we're going to get some solid blocks, and we're going to just make 3 little solid blocks right there on the side. Come down and place a slab here and a slab here. We're going to get our solid blocks. We're going to place a solid block right there. And 2 more solid blocks just like that. And now we're going to break some temporary blocks. Break this temporary block, and this temporary block. Place dust here and here. Place a repeater on a single tick and dust here. We're going to go ahead and get our torch and place a torch on top of there. Alright, so the main clock and control circuit is basically done. This is the main clock. If we flick this lever, we'll see once that fader goes to 0, the clock starts doing its thing and looping. So this is the main control circuit. Now we're going to wire up our crafters and our droppers and everything. So coming off the front torch here that we placed, we're going to place a solid block on top of that. We're going to go ahead and place a target block on either side and swing around to the back in a target block on the back. And now that we're back here, we can utilize this torch. That's our input torch. We're going to place solid blocks just like this in this little shape right. That's an oops. Just like this. So you should have something looking like that. Put dust on all of these. Alright. And now we need to get our droppers. So the droppers are what's putting the items inside of the crafter. So we place a dropper on each one of these target blocks and make sure you have them facing as I've shown. And then once you get done with those, you can go ahead and place a crafter. And we're done with our crafters and our droppers. That's everything. So we need our hoppers and our chests next. Because we're going to go ahead and do the inputs. Now the inputs are all double speed to these droppers. And how we do that is we're just going to have a hopper on top of this dropper, a hopper there, and a hopper there. Hopper going into the side, hopper going into the back, hopper going into the side. Hoppers going into hoppers, hoppers going into hoppers, and hoppers going into hoppers. So it should be looking like this. And once you have all those hoppers placed, just put double chests on top of all those. And now we can go ahead and we're going to build the control circuit that blocks it from crafting if it's out of ingredients. And how we do that is we're going to get some readouts from these hoppers here. So what we're going to do is place a strip of solid blocks that's like what, like 5 or 6 long, something like this, and just build this up just like that. Break out these temporary blocks. Oh, don't break that. All right, do this on the left side and also do it on the right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Place 2 additional solid blocks up here like this and break out these temporary blocks. And come to the middle. This is a temporary block, so we can build that up. We do not need this block. Now, grab your comparators and have them coming off of the readouts for these hoppers. And then just place dust on all of this. Alright, you should have something looking like this. Alright, on the ends of these strips of blocks, we're going to place torches. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to come down and off of our top crafter here, we're going to place solid blocks on either side. And then we're just going to run dust along all of those. As you can see, the power level from any of these torches will keep this comparator locked to make sure that no pulses can get through if we run out of ingredients. That does mean that the clock runs when it's out of ingredients, but the machine does not do its function. So if you don't like running clocks, just be aware that this thing will run if you have the lockout disabled and it runs out of ingredients. What'll happen is, I'll show you real quick. Only the middle portion will run here. You see the blinking portion is not running. If we break this, it will run. So that's very important. The recipe will break if we don't have that wiring. We are nearly done. So let's swing around to the front and we're going to do the outputs. So for the output, all we do is we take a double chest, just like that. Take a hopper down and another double chest. If you didn't want a overflow protected output, you could just do the single double chest here, but if it fills up, the items will start spilling out and you will lose items. Okay, let me look at something here. I'm reading the chest. I forgot how I read the chest here. Now, what we need to do is we need to get a comparator readout from this chest, and we need to make sure that the power level on that is 15, and when it gets full, we stop. So we'll place a redstone block right there. We're going to place some solid blocks right here and here. This is a temporary block. We're going to get our comparators and have the comparator facing away from the chest. It's going to be reading out of the chest, and this one's going to be reading from the redstone block. And then we are going to have a solid block here. Come down, another solid block here and here. Break this temporary block. And then just run this thing all the way down here. Oh. can be just like that. That's totally fine. So what you'll have is you'll have something looking like this. Take and run dust all the way along here. And then slap you a lever here. And we all done and dusted. So what we're going to do is going to place a floor in, and I'm going to load the crafter and show that it is indeed working. Yours should be working in your world as well. So all I've done here is I've placed the floor. There's some floor right there. And then what we can do next, just organizing my inventory. So I need 6 stacks of cobblestone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 stacks of redstone. 1, 2, and a stack of quartz. So we come in here to our crafter. You would set your recipe. I'm going to be doing observers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, we have our recipe set, but if we start the machine, it still won't do anything because we don't have anything in our inputs. You would just need to load the inputs, and then once the inputs are loaded, I'm going to go over here to one that's loaded because I'm not going to load it. It takes time that I ain't got to do in this video for that to fill up. But once it is loaded and you have all the ingredients in these 3 inputs, if you're doing a 2 input, you would just do the 2 inputs. So I would do the left and the right and not use the 3rd one. So like it doesn't matter when you're doing a 2 ingredient recipe. You don't need to build multiple of these. This is a 2 and 3 ingredient semi-universal with the crafter pre-filled or buffered recipe. All right, I'm going to turn it on. What's going on here? Ah, this one is actually out of ingredients too. What does it need? Cobblestone? Let's give it some cobblestone. Give it some cobblestone. Cobbledy wobbledy. Watch back here. As soon as this reaches power level 2, it'll allow it to craft. And then if we go here and check, boom. We're getting observers. So that is the observer crafter, or the 2 and 3 ingredient semi-universal crafter. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave a sub. If you have any questions or concerns, write down there in the comment section. Thank you and have a great day.